Hey y'all, your girl G here, and look, I know this video is going to be uploaded late. I apologize, but down here in Texas, when I tell you the storm, it's literally been 3 days straight, and so the power kept going off and on, and so every time I tried to upload the video, the power would be like not today, you gotta be quicker than that. And so yeah, that's why I'm literally having to re-record the video, because after I tried to upload the other one, my phone it deleted. It's just a whole lot of y'all. So I'm gonna try to recap everything that I had in my previous video, but this one might be a little bit shorter. And yeah, I'll just try to get everything in that happened this reunion. Basically the consensus is production is all trying to protect Gizelle. As of right now, she's what the government would call precious cargo, and unlucky for them, it's like, y'all do understand y'all have footages of Gizelle acting a certain way, and then not only that, the viewers have watched it. So every time y'all try to sit there and act like, oh, it doesn't exist, we can play the episodes back of the season where Gizelle did stuff. So playing in our faces is not how you're going to get people to support this show. And that's what if y'all been on my channel for a while, that's one of my things. It's one of my triggers, playing my intelligence. Don't play on my intelligence, because you try to play me like I'm stupid, and I know that you know that I know that you know that you wrong, then it's gonna be a problem. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and get into the fairy tales and fallacies of Real Housewives of Potomac. So we actually start speaking of fairy tales and fallacies, and Mia whole line at this girl just tell all the stories in the world, and one of them was the incidences of her son being potentially inks, and G, he threw out there, of course y'all remember at the finale that he threw out there, oh, because you cheat on me, we had to question the paternity of our child. But she was going through IUI at the time. She actually did that. Now, because she did that, is there a chance, slim pickings, of him being inks? Yes, it depends on whose swimmers is faster. Now, because Gordon, is a little older, some would say that his, might be a little decrepit. But because they did IUI, they quite literally inseminate the eggs. So that's his baby, all right? But I think he was trying to take a jab at me, because at the end of the day, she was out there canoodling with ink, in the midst of the relationship, and that pissed Gordon off. Not only that, allegedly she was bringing the kids into it. So Gordon definitely was doing everything he could to slander Mia, in which Candiace and Wendy actually confirmed, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So after that, who was it? Gizelle was like, oh, and in that scene, Gordon was really angry. Is he mad because, of the financial situation? And Mia was like, no, he's been mean, of course, a man that has money, that started out that way, can buy his way into different marriages, into cheatations, and all that type of stuff like that. Money and power get you all the, women like Mia to look your way. And when all of that is gone, men are nasty when they don't have money. And this is not even just of the rich of the rich. This is, Pookie and Ray Ray on Section 8. Any man without money, he is a horror, especially when it comes to the fact that he's potentially watching his girl, succeed and, flourish. Listen to me, and listen to me good. This is some good old auntie advice. Nothing reminds a man more of what he don't have than seeing what a woman does have. Okay? Let me repeat that for the people in the back. Nothing reminds a man more of what he don't have than seeing what a woman doesn't. Let me try that again. No, I said it right. Yeah, nothing reminds a man more of what he don't have than seeing what a woman does have. That's what it was. Y'all get what I'm trying to say? These niggas can't watch their woman flourish while they, sitting over there, not doing what they supposed to do. Point blank, period. And so, now that Gordon got kicked out of the money, of the chiropractic place, Then on top of that, he's watching Mia, strut her stuff. He pissed off. And so he's doing things like waking her up in the morning, trying to have these so-called business meetings. He's taking her phone and locking her in the room. She's waking up one day and seeing that her bank account is zero. This is why we tell you ladies to have your own money. And when she finally was like, it was more than the money, that's finally when the other ladies wanted to understand. But then on Robyn, here she go with her bullshit, feeling like she's entitled to ask questions about anybody's relationship. Talk about, well, I just need some clarification. Like, what was going on with the living situation? Because, like, you were in Atlanta, the kids were, in DC. Like, it stopped making any sense. What are you trying to imply, Robyn? That she wasn't with her kids while she was out there effing around with ink? Is that what you're trying to say? Like, what are you trying to get at? But Mia's like, girl, I'm syndicated. I travel around the world. Ain't that what you supposed to do? Okay, she don't want to bring her kids into the mess. So she left her kids with their dad. Shocker. Kids being with their father? But, oh yeah, I forgot. Juan don't be with his kids. You had to take care of his kids while he was 2 years playing around the world, cheating on you and stuff over there in Paris and France and Germany, wherever the hell else he was going. It's a surprise to you that a man would actually be with his kids. So yeah, the fact that she even has the nerve to ask questions about any other relationship while she's going through the stuff that she's going through baffles me. So then they get into the fact that, it was a divorce, and Andy, brought up how Gordon, started messaging the guys, and kind of brought out, I guess, how, everybody, showed support or whatever. And so Wendy was like, now girl, Gordon was calling you everything but the child of God. And we can imagine he was slagging her off, calling her all type of hoes, gold diggers. Y'all know when the men who get the girl from the strip club ain't low, let me take you out the club. The minute she not with him no more, she goes back to be all types of sluts and whores. Ain't nothing but a whore. Okay, they like to throw that back in their face. And so she was like, I did you basically a solid. Yeah, I didn't reach out to you, but I also didn't spray you with your tea. Because given had it been anybody else, Gizelle, Robyn, Ashley, those who have watched the show know exactly what would have happened had this been roles reversed and it been like Candiace and Wendy. We already know what they would have did first episode. So Candiace is like, yeah, I didn't reach out just because I didn't want to be involved. But the fact that y'all are looking for people to reach out to you, like Wendy said, girl, you threw a drink on me. You threw a drink on me. No, I ain't reaching out to you, girl. I can have some type of sympathy, but, and it is crazy to me too also that y'all honestly wouldn't want the person to reach out to you. Like Gizelle wouldn't be expecting them to reach out to her, even though she's going through an unfortunate loss with her father. They would have been damned if they do, damned if they don't. Like, oh, she didn't reach out to me. Well, girl, you don't even like me in the first place. You're not expecting that from me. But if I do reach out, you wouldn't have cared. You wouldn't have replied, no way. But nonetheless, it's all about sister. It's a sisterhood. Girl, what sisterhood? Have you not been seeing what's been happening? She's like, even Karen reached out to me and I've been coming for her all season. Girl, are you forgetting something? You forgetting something? The way that Autumn Heifers is treating the other ladies, this is not a sisterhood, okay? Bye. So, they get to talking about basically ink and how it was like, Andy was like, oh, Andy asked Karen, oh, was this the rapper that you were talking about? And Karen was like, yeah. And so she was like, I basically knew about him at her party. And that's when they linked up after that. And so Mia is like, the only reason it's kind of like, mixed matched or like just commingled is everything between Gordon is because of the timing. The timing is very blurred. We'll just put it that way. Blurred lines. It's giving real entanglement tea, okay? And then so, yeah, I think they ended there. And this is where they go backstage and they're getting ready to bring the husbands out. Candiace is back there talking to Chris, like, pissed off. Like, Chris is like, it's real crazy that it's just like, we're talking about, oh, be careful with our words, but I'm sitting here, trying. I like he hasn't mentioned nothing about all this shenanigans since last reunion. But we're watching, words be criticized when it comes to Candiace. But when Gizelle's like, "Oh, what I really meant to say was he asked me to go to a room, not he made me." Girl, really, really, and we're gonna get into that when the husbands get out there. In the next segment, actually, no, before I want to touch back on Mia really fast. Mia is actually helping Gordon with his living situations partly. He ain't covering the rent of the last place. And so Mia says she ain't covering, bro. That shows because I'm already paying for your new apartment. So it's given next season. We're going to see that whole hodgepodge mess. But yeah, moving back on, this is the Gizelle segment. We already know we go through it every season. It always ain't nothing but her and her daughters and whatever man she talking to at the moment. And this season, it was Jason. Yeah, I think his name is Jason from Winter House. And that's beside. We all know if they even really are doing some type of situationship. Okay, young me, he blowing her bike out, and it clearly ain't doing nothing because usually when you get some D, it puts you in a better mood. But she's always just Scrooge. So of course we get to the segment with her daughters, and then after that her father. Andy gave his condolences. Basically talked about the impact he had. Gizelle talked about how, he was the only one who really pushed her to do the show. And then we see the moment he walked the girls through, the plantation site. And as she's talking, everybody's getting emotional. As much as you might not like somebody, somebody losing somebody close in their life, especially like a parent, that is a very, sentimental thing that probably would make a lot of people emotional because not only do you sympathize for that, but you empathize in a way of like, okay, if I lost a parent, that would be very painful. And so Andy kind of points out, Candiace, why are you crying? And Mia's like, man, she cried, when the wind blows. And so she's just like, Andy, no, like, or whatever, just move on. And when Mia said that, here goes Gizelle. She cried even when it's not about her. Like, she wasn't trying to make it about her. It baffles Gizelle that to see emotion, even when you dislike somebody, it baffles her because she doesn't know how to express emotion, one, in the first place, and two, especially when it comes to somebody that she might be in discord with, i.e., an example, when Mia threw that drink and swung her purse at Wendy, showed no emotion, no any type of empathy. She couldn't even express that Mia was wrong, her or Robyn. So it's like, oh my God, somebody actually crying for the fact that you lost a parent and you've been doing Candiace all type of wrong and accusing her husband, or I won't say accusing, but insinuating that her husband was trying to be inappropriate with you. Girl, go get some therapy. And if you are in therapy, double up your sessions. So yeah, Andy was just like, that's me. It's like, yeah, it shows that she at least somewhat cares. And Andy was like, that's what I was getting at. Wendy was like, yeah, Andy, move on. We picking up what you put down. Move on. Because at the end of the day, Gizelle don't give a damn. She literally was like over it. So then we get to the part where Gizelle was like, also, Wendy, it is a lie that I called your mother evil at knowing that she was in the hospital. And she was like, well, yes, you did. She was like, no, y'all know how Gizelle does her thing. No, I did not. I did not know your mother was in the hospital. That's her thing. Everybody has their teller when they're lying or trying to tell stories. Everybody has their giveaway. For Robyn, it's when she does the, I'm so glad Juan Dixon's not here. Or the, what you want to do, tell me to be honest. Like when she does that shit, it's basically the same thing for Gizelle where she does her, staccato, I did not do that. You cannot tell me I did a thing type situation. And that's what she did with Wendy when it came to, sorry y'all, I'm holding this stand if it's moving a bunch. So yeah, when she was like, I did not know your mother was in the hospital. And cool, like Wendy said, that's fine, but it still don't change the fact of what you said. And you can see that Gizelle kept it at that. She didn't want to acknowledge the fact that she said it, just simply acknowledge the fact that she didn't know her mother was in the hospital. But you said it. You said it, Gizelle. And I thought this was supposed to be the season of ownership. And we haven't seen Gizelle take now ownership not once. Not once this whole reunion. And yet she's still gonna be sitting on that couch next season. Straight ass, poochies, garbage that's happening right now. And everybody sees it. And then, after that, we get to the daughters and them leaving for college, Grace. That is the one thing that I think a lot of people as viewers, we might not with Gizelle, but we do love to see her daughters and watching them grow up. That is one of my favorite things about watching TV, is watching the kids grow up. That's kind of like it's kind of like a little back scene thing that I definitely enjoy watching, like the kids grow up and stuff. And her daughters are adorable and the better part of Gizelle. So yeah. We get to, of course, the eye rolls and stuff that Wendy and Candiace were doing at the table. And, of course, Gizelle wants to turn it into... Oh, no, Andy actually starts with, Karen, with you being there, do you feel like you should have stood up more? And Karen was like, no, at the end of the day, I ain't responsible for it. And then these heifers do. And also, at the end of the day, Andy, all these girls be eye rolling when there's some type of discord. And here go Gizelle, don't do that, Karen, don't do that. She's like, he asked me the question. He asked me. And like I said, I'm not going to be responsible for what everybody else does. And Gizelle was like, I was talking about my daughters. Okay. And like Candiace said, I'm tired of you weaponizing your kids against me. And she's like, no, I do not. Absolutely you do, Gizelle. You're trying to turn because you were talking about your daughters in the moment that they were eye rolling about you, that they were actually showing hate towards your daughter. And we already know you like to do that because last season you did that shit talking about Wendy was like basically giving your daughter the stink eye when all she simply was doing was following her with her eyes when she walked past. You turn everything in regards to them negative because you don't like them. And anytime you don't like somebody, you do the stupid sorority hazing shit. That's what you do. That's the only thing you know how to do is haze. That's it. This is basically Housewives hazing. That's what I'm calling it. Housewives hazing. That's what we going on. That's what they do on these shows. Housewives hazing. That's it. And so, that's what you do. And not only that, Wendy on the show clocked it too, when she was like, you use your daughters against me, and that's why I'm not saying anything that pertains to them. Matter of fact, I actually congratulated, and which I saw on the show they did. Candiace was like, congratulations, so was Wendy. And she's like, even brought up the fact that she pledged an AKA. She's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. She's like, yes, I did. She's like, well, show the proof. Show the proof. And immediately in Andy's ear, they were like, we don't have that on tape. And Wendy was like, oh, really? But Candiace at least raised her hand and was like, I heard it. And I definitely think Wendy said it. I absolutely think Wendy said it. But because Gizelle does not like them, she probably wasn't even trying to listen to anything that Wendy was saying. And her thing was, I don't remember. Well, I don't remember. Girl, yeah, you got amnesia for everything Candiace and Wendy do. And you definitely got amnesia for the shit that you do. It's always convenient, too. Always convenient when it got something to do with you doing something wrong. Yeah, so I absolutely do believe that Wendy said something. Y'all drop down in the comments. Do y'all believe Wendy, congratulated Gizelle and her daughters? I absolutely believe she did, because that's just the type of woman that Wendy is. She's very, I don't want to say politically correct, but she does, try to do the what's the word I'm looking for? That's what it is. Diplomatic. She's very diplomatic and understanding, like, regardless of how I feel about something, a win is a win, And so for her daughters, that was a win. And so, yeah, that's where they basically ended Gizelle's section. She in New York messing, she gonna call up Jason after this, allegedly. Andy asked if she was talking to somebody else. After Nneka was like, well, Gizelle, because that whole Jason thing, he basically, had another white girl on Instagram, and Gizelle was like, yeah, it don't pertain to me. If they ain't in my face, I ain't worried about it. Um, and Nneka was like, well, so do you, like, you get to date whoever? And Andy's like, so are you dating? Mia said, yeah. Mia on message. Andy wasn't asking you a question. Gizelle was like, thanks, Mia Thornton. Yeah, these hoes for your tea. That's why you gotta tell it before they try to get to it first. And so she might be talking to a few people, potentially athletes, point blank period. And so yeah, then that was the end of Gizelle's segment. But it's straight bullshit what we're watching right now of these producers definitely doing everything they can to combat the fact that this colorism conversation even started in the first place. And they basically are trying to punish Candiace for even making them seem that way, And at the end of the day, if y'all are gonna have black shows, y'all are gonna have to have black conversations. For real. All right, so we move on to the Candiace segment. And we see basically her health, her and Chris trying to, make a baby, her career and things like that. She did, basically update that she no longer had to do the biopsy because the mass shrunk. So they definitely, thank God for that. I'm actually going to the doctor tomorrow because I got some shit going on with me, and sometimes you just know something is off in your body. So definitely, like Candiace said, check. Health is wealth, all right? So then we get to talking about basically her career, and she did like a little tour. And from that tour, we got to talk about Drew, because when she was asked about, having Drew back on the tour, Andy was like, what happened? What was going on? And Candiace basically explained, well, when you introduce somebody, as the friend of, and you want to do business with them, typically you would talk to the friend first. So basically she was just like, I ain't like how Drew did business. It was giving real shisty, shady under the table, basically. So I can't blame her for that. If somebody do business a certain way and you don't rock like that, then definitely don't do it, okay? Don't do it, okay? So yeah, moving on. So of course we got to get to the colorism conversation, because it always starts with, well, Candiace, you are a disaster on Twitter. It always got to start with Candiace and her Twitter responses, but we're never ever focusing about her Twitter responses are reactions, right? Candiace has always been a reactor, and because, as I've said before on this channel, you can't handle Candiace's mouth, motherfucker. Shout out to Erica Mina, old racist ass. They can't handle her mouth, nor Wendy's. And so when it got to her about talking about her and Robyn basically, Andy was like, to break the fourth wall, did you feel like Candiace was coming for your job? Essentially, Robyn just kind of felt like, not in a way that she was coming for her job, but like you were being hypercritical of what was going on her side. Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, bitch, we signed up on a show to show our life, and you knew all that shit was going on in your life, so much so that you expected somebody else to bring it up. So much so that you expected somebody else to bring it up on the show. So you knew it was something to be discussed on the show. But then when it all came out, you wanted to try to put it behind a paywall to hear about what was going on going on in your life, even though, Robyn, you're already getting paid to talk about it. That's why you're on the show. You are getting paid to talk about your life. But you let $5 in the paywall be the difference? All while you got your crusty ass, triple neck ass friend over there, stovepipe legs, Miss Gizelle Gizzard, trying to tear her and her man down, and you're letting it slide because you know it's a distraction from the shit that you got going on in your household with a husband that literally hates you. So much so that he can't even show up for a reunion now once. This man, out of all these seasons, only showed up to one reunion. How pitiful. So, they get into that. Like, Candiace is like, so it basically started like, she's like, we're going to get into the timeline. It started with Robyn, having long hair or something. And Candiace, replied. And basically, Robyn kind of pointed out, oh, maybe to look me white adjacent because of everything that happened with Gizelle. Her privileged white adjacent looking ass. And obviously, Robyn's going to get tagged into that because you are of the same complexion. Not only that, you do not criticize Gizelle when it comes to her actions, i.e. with the Chris situation. You flip-flopped, right? And so Robyn basically, here come the water where he's giving real white adjacent, white woman tears. I just, when it comes to that conversation, I'm just so uncomfortable. Yeah, bitch, okay. But y'all see the clips going crazy on social media? All these past clips, y'all ain't never had no problem talking about race. When it comes to Katie and her being biracial, y'all didn't have no problem talking about race then. But you uncomfortable because you're talking about a topic that you know that you benefit from. Newsflash, light-skinned people, i.e. me being one of them, it's not a problem admitting that you benefit from colorism. That there's a privilege with being lighter skinned. It's what you do with that privilege, right? It's what you do with the privilege. But simply trying to ignore the fact that you understand your light skin is so that sometimes begets better treatment, and you want to sit there and play at everybody's face like that does not exist. That's where the problem is, right? And I'm saying that like as a light-skinned person, I understand that there's privileges that come with that. But what do I do with the privileges is the thing. And what Gizelle does with the privileges is insinuate that somebody's husband tried to be inappropriate with her, but then come back and say, oh, well, if I said made, what I really meant was he asked me to. Excuse me? Like, Gizelle deserves to get backhand because it's not just so flippantly, moving on from that. That's what we're saying. So after Gizelle cries, basically Candiace was like, you aired me twice when I replied. I replied about one. I replied about, are you mad at me? Very much giving. That's the moment she flipped. Because she always gonna be up Gizelle's ass. And the fact that you can't separate yourself from Gizelle is the reason why you're always being pulled into these conversations. And Robyn, was like, because of the Twitter storm, I don't think Robyn, she didn't know which way was up because Twitter was getting into both y'all asses. So Robyn did not know how to handle that. Gizelle, of course, wants to, because Wendy was like, if this was a black and white conversation, we would know how to approach this. But the fact that it's colorism, here go Gizelle, I have no problem talking about race. Okay. We know you ain't got no problem talking about race, but let's get into the different, the different bullet points of race. First one being colorism, right? You can't sit here and throw it in everybody's face. Oh, well, I went to a HBCU. I pledged black sorority. Yeah, all that shit don't matter. It matters how you operate within them things, Gizelle. So we're not talking about racism. We're talking about colorism, okay? But you don't want to get to that topic, you, right? So Karen kind of spoke up like, well, if there's any other, there isn't any other group of women that can talk about it. And Wendy said, stop it. In order to talk about colorism, you need to have the range to talk about it. And these heifers don't. Because Robyn clearly admitted she uncomfortable. Candiace talked about how for her, she ain't got no problem because in her household, race and like all of that stuff, she talked about freely. And so Gizelle, Robyn, Ashley, hell, Mia, the thing that they benefit from, they don't want to talk about it because they feel like it's a bad thing to admit that, oh, I got a privilege in life. Like I said, it's not, you don't sit there and act like you don't have a privilege because it's almost like, pissing on somebody and telling them it's raining. And then to ignore it is even more like disrespectful because it's like you playing in people's faces. And that's what is aggravating everybody more, that you're trying to act like it's not a conversation to be had. And so Wendy was like, instead of it being the conversation of it feeling that way, you need to start asking why the conversation is never going to turn to why, we feel this way. And so Nneka was like, well, why is it, on the side? And Robyn was like, well, it's because if I have a problem with somebody, darker tone, immediately that means I'm colorist. But I've had problems with Karen. I've had problems with, Ashley. You're missing it, Robyn. It's not the problem that you had confrontation with them. It's the problem of how you operate after those confrontations. Ashley been on your ass since she got on the show, but yet you still talking to her and she dug into your relationship deep, okay? But Candiace does this and you can't move on. That's the point. So if we look at the difference of why you can't move on, there's one glaring difference. Yeah, there's one glaring difference. Because you sure moved on from Karen and Ashley, and they clearly got something in common. So yeah, let's stop it, okay? At this point, Andy's like, it don't look like we moving on, and we not. Candiace called it. If them women could do what they did to you and you move on, but in this situation you can't, then so be it. And so then at this point, we invite the husbands to come out. All right, so it's time for the final segment, which is the husbands. All the ladies go in the back. Nneka basically is like, I've been doing good with not basically being on social media. And so she's going to use this as her opportunity to get out what she wanted to say. Me, I guess, was giving her some reality TV advice, which is, girl, you better say something or otherwise it's going to look like you've been watching the show. Nneka, I'm sorry. This might be your last season. Now I do give credit where credit is at least somewhat needed. I'll give you a little bit of grace being at the fact that you were a new housewife, and I know typically producers use y'all, and you definitely were used this season. But Amara, if you get season 2, you need to cut that out. All right, just a tip. But then her husband was like trying to give some advice, and she literally cut Ike's head off. In this situation, when it comes to Ike, it seemed like Nneka is the one with Ike energy, and he is Tina, okay? Because she be on him. So we finally get to the stage. Husband's out there. Andy, checks in on everybody, how they doing. Gordon, Chris, Eddie. Happy Eddie flying off the shelves because everybody loved that weed, okay? That cannabis, all right? That THC, the ganja, the Mary Jane, the devil's lettuce. Y'all know what I'm saying. He basically pulled a candy and turned water into wine. Gizelle, your plan of trying to come after Eddie with Ashley, your assistants, because we know how this goes. Gizelle's the ringleader and Ashley is the assistant, which is why she brought Deborah on. And used her to go after Happy Eddie and Chris, talking about, he was chit-chatting and flirting with her. We know, we seen these works, okay? But $2 million in 6 months had Wendy over there sitting real tall. Oh, I know Gizelle is pissed upon passivity, okay? Above passivity that you can have. She is so pissed off. So yeah, Chris basically, happy to be here. I'm just here. I'm here so I don't get fined. I'm doing my job. I'm supporting my wife. Okay. So then we get to the fact that Andy was like, so, you haven't been around. Is that on purpose? He was like, yeah. And Candiace was like, he don't want to be around because he don't feel comfortable. When you have a woman accusing you of things, why would I come around that woman? Point blank, period. So then we get to Mia and the fact that she was a hoe and a wife, okay? She was like, Andy was like, well, you said you were a girlfriend. What did that mean? And Mia tried to put it in a polite term, basically, well, on trips where there's girlfriends, I was girlfriends. And then, after I got married, I hung out with the wives. Andy's like, I don't get it. Andy, you know what she's saying? She was a whore. She was there for the money, honey. She was there trying to get her place. She saw a sucker and she licked it, okay? Now she a wife. And, she experienced both sides. That's what she's saying. Yeah, after that, we finally get into, the situation with Chris. And, or did they talk about Gordon? No, yeah, with Chris. And, or was it Candiace? Talk about Candiace. Damn, which one came first? I'm trying to think. What did they talk to Candiace about? It was Candiace and oh, the girl. I was like, dang, which one? I was like, what? My mind blanked. So yeah, we get into the girl that accused Chris of, cheating. And basically she talked about it, retracted, and then here come Robyn. She never fails with feeling like she want to ask questions about somebody's husband, and you are last on the list that should be asking anybody anything. So when Chris was like, I don't know that woman, I don't know her. Here go Robyn. So the screenshots, she keeps going back to these screenshots like that's supposed to just change something. Like, no. And so Chris was like, I ain't never met this woman. And so it's like, but what about the screenshots? Let me repeat for you, since you deaf, dumb, and blind. I ain't never met this woman. So she's like, that got nothing to do with the pictures. She, had I been Candiace, the minute she mentioned anything about some pictures, I would have been like, oh, you so concerned about my husband's pictures, you want to go pick for pick? I'll go and ask that girl, was she serious about this penis pic, or was that girl serious about that receipt pic from the hotel? Every question Robyn would have asked about Chris, I would have asked the question back. Oh, you said that he knew this woman? Should we go ask the woman, did she know one too? Oh, okay. I get it, Robyn. We understand that your man is cheating, so you desperately need somebody else's husband to be out there with community peen. But what you not finna do is question my husband a bunch of questions that you ain't even willing to ask Juan. I would have had Robyn over there stuck on ice, okay? I would have backed up off me quick. But you could tell Candiace has been very intentional about not going as hard as she did last season. And that sucks, because if you were on your way out, Candiace, you definitely should have went out in a blaze of glory, set all them bitches on fire, okay? So yeah, Chris was like, she did, she didn't. Then it was like, the whole Gizelle situation of feeling like the whole plot, like, were you part of the plot? Now, Robyn wants to stay focused on the context of it being a plot versus the context of you knew the idea of what was going on and how you benefited from it, right? You may not have been a part of the plot, but you understood that whatever was happening was a good distraction from the shit that was going on with you. Point blank, period. And then so they got to the part of like, Candiace is like, I'm so distrusting of Gizelle. I don't put nothing past this heifer. And Gizelle was like, well, she said that. Don't put Gizelle in it. We can't believe her. You want to believe, you want to believe everything about Chris, and we say, oh, it don't matter. It's the same with you. We don't believe you, okay? And so Chris stood up, basically was like, well, that's how she feels. Just like you feel 2 years ago about what happened, Candiace feels the same way. And so she needs to be acknowledged for that. And Gizelle was like, well, fair. He was like, fantastic, moving on. Everybody's energy said, because Chris did not come here to play. He's sick of y'all hoes, okay? So then we move on to, of course, Gordon and Mia. And then that's where the episode ended, right where Gordon was getting ready to go into some spiel about something. Y'all, Real Housewives of Potomac got everybody blood pressure through the roof. It's very clear that there's favoritism. The production is definitely doing everything they can not to show the proof of Gizelle and her antics, but it doesn't change the fact that we got proof, and it's all on Twitter, okay? And so next season, we're gonna see if they really paying attention or if they even give a damn, because 9 times out of 10, I ain't gonna watch. I promise you I ain't gonna watch. I ain't gonna watch. Like, point blank period. But Robyn should have got her ass ate up. Candiace, I'm sorry, girl. This is the one thing you should have ate her up. I know it's a part of you for being a pageants queen where it's like, it's all about, the validation of others. But you gotta stop living that way, because it don't do you nan good, especially the people who treat you like ass. Point blank period. But that was Real Housewives of Potomac, y'all. I appreciate you for tuning in. Y'all drop it in the comments and tell me how you feel about the season, how y'all feel about Chris, and his interaction with Gizelle, what y'all feel about Robyn and her uncomfortableness with the colorism conversation. Okay. Yeah, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I will catch y'all later. Deuces.